in Congressman Dan Crenshaw, Republican from Texas. He's also a retired Navy SEAL. Congressman, how should President Biden respond today at the United Nations to Putin threatening to use his nukes?
Look, I think he needs to reiterate the West's support for Ukraine. This is an illegitimate war being waged by Putin. They're escalating because they're desperate, because they're losing, because some of the aid that we have given the Ukrainians has actually worked. It's helped the Ukrainians match the artillery range of the Russians, and that's been a pretty important feat. And so instead of sending bodies over there, we've been sending bullets and money. And frankly, that's been a pretty good investment because you have Europe unified, you have NATO strengthened, you have NATO possibly expanding. You have Europeans who are now extremely skeptical of any influence from Russia and China as well. And you now understand that Russia is a shell of its former self, and we can now focus our foreign policy south of the border and towards China.
But he's got to come across in front of all these world leaders as really strong and firm and credible. If he's going to go after Putin, he's going to make it stick. Can he do it?
I hope so. Obviously, we see Biden fumble every time he speaks. At this point, you almost wish somebody else were speaking on his behalf. Maybe our representative at the UN. But he's what we've got right now. So I hope he pulls it off.
Got it, Congressman. We reported 2 million migrants have been apprehended at the border this fiscal year. President Biden was questioned about this. Here's his response. Roll tape.
On the border, why is the border more overwhelmed under your watch, Mr. President?
Because there are 3 countries that are never happened. There are fewer immigrants coming from Central America and from Mexico. This is a totally different circumstance. What's on my watch now is Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua. And the ability to send them back to those states is not rational.
Congressman, that seemed to me to be just sidestepping the central issue of what some would call an invasion across the southern border. What's your response?
Well, I have a few responses. First, he's lying. We've always had migrants coming across our southern border from a variety of different countries. That's nothing new. And what's irrational is ending the Remain in Mexico policy. See, that would have allowed him to send them to Mexico. If he thinks it's irrational to send them to Venezuela or Nicaragua, well, we had a policy in place that would send them to Mexico City. We had an agreement with the Mexican government where that's what would happen. And then migrants, as a result, were disincentivized. So what's irrational is not securing our border, not visiting it, not showing any presidential leadership. That's irrational. What's irrational is not enforcing our laws or enforcing our sense of sovereignty and protecting American citizens. That's not rational either. And look, I can solve this border crisis really quick. You stop accepting bogus asylum claims when they illegally cross the border. You have to apply at a point of entry or an embassy or a consulate in their home country. You'll end this real quick. And if they don't do that, you put them on a plane, you send them right back to their country. It really is that easy to solve this crisis. The second thing Biden needs to do is, you know what? Every American should know the names of the head of the cartels that are killing tens of thousands of people a year by putting fentanyl in their drugs that they're taking. We're looking at about 80,000 American deaths a year from fentanyl-laced drugs. And nobody even knows the head of these cartels that's doing it. Biden's showing no leadership, showing the people that this is an enemy of the state. That's who these cartels are. They're sending migrants across to distract Border Patrol while they send deadly drugs and poison across our borders and kill Americans on purpose. And we have to address that.
Well said, sir. Thanks for joining us, Congressman. Always a pleasure. See you again soon.